Princess sat on her throne and watched another prince walk toward her. This one had blue skin and 4 arms. He wore armor made of some metal that glowed in the light. His name was Prince, and he came from a planet called the Crimson Reach. He was the 247th prince to come here. 247 princes, 3 years of this, was tired. "Your Highness," Prince said. He bowed, but not very low. "I have crossed the stars to seek your hand. My family rules 12 worlds. Our armies have never known defeat. I will make you the most powerful empress in the galaxy." Had heard words like this before, many times. She nodded to the guards. "Take him to the test chamber." Prince smiled. He looked confident. They all looked confident when they went in. None of them smiled when they came out. An hour later the prince returned. His face was pale, he would not look at. The test chamber's AI spoke in a voice that filled the throne room. "Prince has failed. He chose conquest over compassion. He chose glory over good. He is not worthy." The prince left quickly. Watched him go. She felt nothing. Not even disappointment anymore, just emptiness. Her mother, the empress, stood beside the throne. "This cannot continue. You must choose someone." "I will choose when I find someone worthy," said quietly. "There is no one worthy in your eyes." The empress's voice was sharp. "The council grows impatient. If you do not choose within the month, they will choose for you." Said nothing. What could she say? Every prince was the same. Strong, yes. Powerful, yes. But none of them understood what it meant to truly lead. Far below the throne room, in the lower levels of the palace, was fixing a broken pipe. Water dripped on his head. His uniform was already wet and dirty. He did not mind. This was his job. Was human. In this galaxy, that meant he was not important. Humans had lost a war long ago before was born. Now they worked as servants, as builders, as cleaners. They were useful but not respected. That was just how things were. "Hand me the wrench," said to his partner, a young human woman named Sara. Sara gave him the tool. "Did you hear? Another prince failed the test today." "I heard," tightened a bolt. "That is 247 now." "What do you think the test is?" Sara asked. "They keep it so secret." Shrugged. "Does not matter to us. We just keep the palace running while they worry about tests and thrones." Above them, they could hear footsteps. Royal guards were escorting Prince out of the palace. The prince was shouting about insults and unfair tests, and Sora stayed quiet until the voices faded. "I saw the test chamber once," said. "Through a maintenance shaft. I was checking the air systems." "What did you see?" "Not much, just a room with lights, and a prince standing there making choices on a screen. He looked angry. Every choice he made, he looked angrier." "What kind of choices?" "I do not know. The screen was too far away. Finished with the pipe and tested it. Water flowed properly now. There, that is done. Come on, we have 6 more repairs before our shift ends." They climbed down the ladder and walked through the narrow maintenance corridors. These corridors ran through the entire palace like veins through a body. Humans used them to move around unseen. The royal family and their guests used the grand hallways above. The 2 worlds rarely touched. That evening stood on her balcony and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, more princes were preparing to come here, more tests to give, more failures to witness. "Your Highness," it was her personal attendant, was one of the few people trusted. "You should eat something." "I am not hungry." Came to stand beside her. She was quiet for a moment, then she said, "May I speak freely?" "Always." "What are you looking for? What would make a prince worthy in your eyes?" Thought about this. She had asked herself the same question many times. Someone who understands that power is not for taking, it is for giving. Someone who leads by serving, not by commanding. Someone who sees people, not resources. "That is a rare thing," said softly. "I know," his voice was sad. "Maybe it does not exist. Maybe I am asking for something impossible." "Or maybe," said, "you are looking in the wrong places." turned to look at her attendant. "What do you mean?" But just smiled and bowed. "I should not say more. Please eat something, you need your strength." After left, stayed on the balcony. Below, in the palace gardens, she could see lights moving. Maintenance workers were checking the irrigation systems. They moved quietly, efficiently. They did their work and expected no praise, no reward beyond their small wages. One of the workers stopped by a fountain, watched him kneel down and examine something. He pulled out a tool and began working on the fountain's pump. His movements were careful, precise. He worked like someone who cared about doing things right, even though no one important was watching. Wondered what that felt like. To work without anyone caring. To serve without recognition. These workers kept the palace beautiful, kept everything running, and the royal family barely noticed they existed. The worker finished his job and stood up. The fountain began flowing again, water dancing in the moonlight. The worker packed his tools and moved to the next task. Could not see his face from this distance, just another human servant doing his job. She went back inside. Tomorrow there would be another prince, and another test, and another failure. Unless something changed. But what could change? The rules were ancient. Only a prince could take the test. Only royalty could join the royal family. That was the law. Went to bed that night thinking about fountains and invisible workers and impossible wishes. She dreamed of a throne room where the seats were empty and the halls were silent. She dreamed of walking down from her throne and asking someone, anyone, what they truly thought. In the dream, someone answered. When she woke up, she could not remember what they said, but she remembered the feeling of being heard, of being seen as a person, not a princess. She wanted that feeling again. She did not know that in 3 days she would find it. She did not know that the man who fixed the fountain would change everything. She did not know that her choice would shake the entire galaxy. Not yet. But soon. 3 days after the fountain repair, found himself working in the upper gardens. This was unusual. Normally, senior workers handled the royal gardens. But andYou, the head of palace maintenance, had called in sick. Someone needed to check the garden systems and was the only one available. "Do not talk to anyone important," andYou had told him that morning, his voice rough from illness. "Just do the work and leave. Check the water lines, test the soil sensors, and get out." Had agreed. He had no interest in meeting royalty anyway. What would they talk about? They lived in completely different worlds. The gardens were beautiful. Had to admit that. Plants from 100 worlds grew here in perfect harmony. The air smelled like flowers he could not name. Water trickled through streams that wound between the paths like silver ribbons. Knelt beside a flower bed and opened his sensor kit. The soil moisture was low. He made a note on his. He would need to adjust the irrigation schedule. "What are you doing?" Looked up. A young woman stood on the path. She wore a simple gray dress and no jewelry. Her hair was pulled back in a plain style. She looked curious but not angry. "Checking the soil, miss," said. He turned back to his work. "The moisture levels are off. I will fix it." "May I watch?" This was odd but shrugged. "If you want." The woman came closer and sat on a nearby bench. Continued his work. He adjusted the sensor, checked the readings again, and made more notes. "You care about the flowers," the woman said. "Someone should," replied. "They are alive, they need proper care." Most people would just follow the schedule without checking. Smiled a little. "The schedule is made by people who do not look at the flowers, they guess. I prefer to know." "That is wise." Glanced at her. "Not wise, just practical. If I do my job right, the flowers grow. If I do it wrong, they die. Simple as that." They were quiet for a moment, moved to the next flower bed. The woman followed and sat on another bench nearby. "Do you like working here?" she asked. "It is a job," said. "It pays fairly. The work is honest. That is more than many humans have." "Does it bother you that humans are treated as servants?" paused. This was a strange question. Most non-humans never thought about it at all. He chose his words carefully. It bothers me that anyone judges people by what they are instead of who they are, he said. But I cannot change the galaxy. I can only do my work well and treat others with respect. That is enough for me. Is it? Is it really enough? Looked at her directly now. There was something in her eyes, sadness maybe, or loneliness. He wondered who she was, a servant, a minor official's daughter. What do you think? He asked. You seem like you have opinions about this. The woman looked surprised. You want to know what I think? Why not, you asked me. She smiled. It was a real smile, not the polite kind. No one has asked me what I think in a very long time. They tell me what I should think. They tell me what is proper, what is wise, what is necessary, but no one asks. Stood up and moved to a small fountain. It was making a strange sound. That seems wrong. How can anyone know what you need if they do not listen to you? Exactly. The woman stood up too, suddenly excited. That is exactly what I have been trying to say, but everyone talks over me. They have plans and strategies and political schemes. No one listens. Opened the fountain's access panel and looked inside. A piece of debris was caught in the pump. He carefully removed it. People who do not listen are fools. The best way to lead is to understand. The best way to understand is to listen. You sound like you know about leading. Laughed. Me, I lead no one. I fix pipes and check flowers, but my mother used to say that. She worked in a community center on a colony world. She helped people solve problems. She said the answers were always in the people themselves. You just had to listen to hear them. Your mother sounds wise. She was. His voice was soft now. She died 5 years ago, sickness. The colony did not have good medical facilities. I am sorry. Thank you. Closed the fountain panel. The water flowed smoothly now. She taught me well, though. I try to live the way she did. Work hard. Help others when you can. Listen more than you talk. The woman watched him clean his tools. What is your name? What is yours? There was a pause, then she said, Nice to meet you. Packed up his kit. I need to finish my rounds. The East Garden still needs checking. Can I walk with you? Hesitated. This woman seemed nice, but she was asking odd questions. Maybe she was lonely. Maybe she just wanted company. Either way, he could not see the harm. Sure, he said. They walked through the gardens together, worked while asked questions. She wanted to know about his job, his life, his thoughts on everything from politics to flowers. Answered honestly. There seemed no reason to lie. At one point asked, if you could change one thing about the galaxy, what would it be? Thought about this while testing a water line. I would make people see each other, really see each other, not what species they are or what job they do, just who they are as individuals. I think most problems come from not seeing people clearly. That is a beautiful thought. It is a practical thought, said. My mother proved it worked. In her community center, everyone was equal. Human, alien, rich, poor. Everyone got help when they needed it. Everyone contributed when they could. It worked because people saw each other as people. Was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was thoughtful. The galaxy could use more places like that, more people like your mother, more people like you. Finished his work and stood up. The galaxy has plenty of good people. They just do not get much attention. The loud ones, the powerful ones, they take up all the space. But the good people are there doing their work quietly. Like fixing fountains that no one notices, said softly. Exactly. They reached the edge of the garden. Shift was almost over. I should go, he said. My supervisor will wonder where I am. Will I see you again? Asked. Maybe, if they send me to the gardens again, smiled. It was nice talking to you. You listen well. That is rare. So do you. That is rarer. Bowed slightly, the way workers were taught to do, and walked toward the maintenance entrance. He did not look back. If he had, he would have seen standing very still, watching him go with an expression of wonder on her face. He did not know that was the princess. He did not know that their conversation had been watched by hidden security cameras. He did not know that in the palace security center was smiling as she reviewed the footage. Most importantly, he did not know that Princess had just decided something important, something that would change his life forever. But he would find out soon. Very soon. The council meeting happened the next morning. Princess sat in her chair and listened to Lord speak. He was the chief advisor, a tall alien with gray skin and cold eyes. He did not like. He had made that clear many times. "Your Highness," Lord said, "the council has made a decision. Prince of the Golden Reach will arrive in 6 days. If you do not choose a consort before then, the council will invoke the right of selection. Prince will become your consort by law." Felt her stomach tighten. Prince, the one who destroyed 3 colonies because they refused to pay tribute. "He brought order to chaos," Lord said smoothly. "He is strong. He is connected to powerful families. He will make a suitable consort." "He is a tyrant." "He is practical." Lord leaned forward. "Your Highness, you have rejected 247 princes. The galaxy is laughing at us. They say the throne cannot even find a husband for its princess. This weakness must end." His grandmother, the Empress Dowager, spoke from her seat. She was very old, very traditional, and very powerful. "Child, you must be reasonable. Prince may be harsh, but he will bring strength to our empire." "He will bring fear," said quietly. "Sometimes fear is necessary," the Empress Dowager replied. Looked around the council table. 12 faces looked back at her. None of them cared what she wanted. They cared about power, about politics, about appearances. They would force her to marry a monster if it served their purposes. 6 days, she said. "I have 6 days." "Yes, Your Highness," Lord smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Choose wisely." After the meeting, returned to her chambers, was waiting for her. "I heard about the council's decision," said. "I am sorry, Your Highness." Paced the room. Of all the princes in the galaxy, they choose him, a man who burns worlds and calls it justice. "What will you do?" "I do not know," stopped at the window. "If I refuse, they will force the marriage anyway. If I accept, I betray everything I believe. What choice do I have?" Was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Your Highness, may I show you something?" She activated a holographic display. Security footage appeared. It showed the garden. It showed talking to. "You have been watching me?" asked. "The security system watches everything," said. "But I have been reviewing this footage specifically. I have also been researching this man. His name is, he has worked here for 3 years. His record is perfect." Brought up more files. He volunteers for extra shifts when others are sick. He sends 70% of his wages to human orphanages on colony worlds. He has never reported for bonuses or recognition. He just does his work. More footage appeared. Helping an elderly human carry heavy equipment. Teaching a younger worker how to repair something. Staying late to finish a job so the day shift would not be overwhelmed. "Why are you showing me this?" asked. "Because, Your Highness, you asked what kind of person would be worthy. I think you found him. You just did not know it yet." Stared at the footage. "He is a human, a custodian. The council would never allow it. The law says you must choose someone worthy. It does not say they must be a prince." "I know it sounds impossible, but is it more impossible than marrying? At least this way, you choose for yourself." Sat down slowly. Her mind was racing. Could she really? That afternoon in the lower maintenance levels was working on a water purification system when he heard shouting. He recognized one of the voices. Sara. He climbed out of the access shaft and ran toward the sound. In the hallway, he found Sara on her knees, cleaning up spilled supplies. A man in expensive robes stood over her, yelling. "Clumsy human, Do you know who I am? I could have you thrown out of the palace for this." The man was Prince, recognized him from the news broadcasts. The prince's guards stood nearby, watching with amusement. Sora was crying. "I am sorry, Your Highness, I did not see you. I am so sorry." "Sorry is not good enough," raised his hand. "Stop," said. Everyone turned to look at him. Prince lowered his hand. "What did you say?" Walked forward calmly. He knelt down next to Sora and began picking up the supplies. "I said stop," she apologized. "She is cleaning up the mess. There is no need for violence." Prince stared at him. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes," said. He continued gathering the supplies. "You are someone who thinks power gives you the right to hurt people. You are wrong about that." The guards moved forward but held up his hand. He was smiling now, a dangerous smile. Brave words for a human custodian, stupid but brave. Stood up, he was not as tall as, but he met the prince's eyes directly. "I am not trying to be brave. I am just saying what is true. Power should protect people, not harm them. If you do not understand that, then you do not deserve your power." For a moment thought the prince would strike him, but then laughed, a cold, harsh sound. "You think you know about power, you who scrub floors and fix pipes," leaned close. "I rule 12 worlds, billions of people bow to me. What are you? Nothing. You are less than nothing." "Maybe," said quietly, "but I can sleep at night, can you?" Smile vanished. He turned and walked away, his guards following. "Pathetic," he muttered. After they were gone, helped Sora stand up. "Are you okay?" "You idiot," Sora was shaking. "He could have you fired, he could have you arrested. Why did you do that?" "Because it was the right thing to do." "The right thing," Sora laughed, but it sounded more like crying. "The right thing gets you killed. The right thing gets you sent to mining colonies. Why can you not just keep your head down like everyone else?" Picked up the last of the supplies. "Because if everyone keeps their head down, nothing ever changes." High above, in her chambers, Princess watched this exchange on her security screen. She had been reviewing footage of Prince, trying to find something, anything good about him. Instead, she found this. She watched stand up to a prince. She watched him risk everything to protect someone he barely knew. She watched him speak truth to power without fear. And she made her decision. She said, "Prepare my formal robes, the ones for important announcements." "Your Highness, I am going to make a choice. The Council will not like it. The Empress will not like it. The entire galaxy might not like it," smiled for the first time in days. "But it is my choice, and it is the right one." Smiled back. "When should I prepare for?" "Tomorrow morning," said. "I have waited long enough. It is time to stop looking for a prince who does not exist and choose the man who was there all along." She looked at the screen again. Was back at work, fixing the purification system like nothing had happened. He had no idea that his life was about to change. But it was. Starting tomorrow, everything would be different. The throne room was full. Princes from across the galaxy stood in their finest robes. The council sat in their high seats. The Empress Dowager watched from her throne, her face unreadable. News drones floated near the ceiling, broadcasting this moment to 1,000 worlds. Princess stood before them all in her formal robes. They were deep blue, embroidered with silver stars. She wore the crown of the air, heavy on her head. Lord stood and spoke. "Your Highness, you have called this assembly. The time has come. You must make your choice. Which prince will you select for the royal test?" Looked at the assembled princes. She saw Prince, still hopeful despite his failure. She saw Prince of the Silver Dominion calculating his chances. She saw a dozen others, all powerful, all connected, all wrong. Prince stood in the front. He looked confident. Smug even. He thought the choice was already made. "I have made my decision," said. Her voice carried through the silent room. "But first, I want to speak to all of you about what this test truly measures." The council members shifted uncomfortably. The test was supposed to be secret. For 3 years I have watched princes fail, continued. Strong princes, intelligent princes, princes who could conquer worlds or negotiate treaties, all of them failed. Do you know why? No one answered. They failed because the test does not measure strength or intelligence. It measures character. It presents impossible choices. Save the many or save the one. Take power through deception or remain powerless but honest. Win through cruelty or lose with compassion. Every prince chose power. Every prince chose victory. Every prince chose himself. Prince laughed. Of course we did. That is what leaders do. They make hard choices. They choose strength. No, said, that is what tyrants do. Leaders serve. They protect. They sacrifice themselves for others, not others for themselves. Foolish idealism, scoffed. The galaxy runs on power, not sentiment. Then the galaxy is broken, said quietly. And I will not add to that brokenness by choosing someone who does not understand the difference between power and leadership. Lord stood. Your Highness, enough speeches, make your choice. Which prince will take the test? None of them. The room erupted. Princes shouted. Council members demanded explanations. The Empress Dowager raised her hand for silence. Her grandmother said, "You must choose a prince. It is the law." "The law says I must choose someone worthy to take the test," replied. "It does not say that person must be a prince." The room went silent. "What are you saying?" Lord's voice was dangerous. "I am saying that I have found someone worthy. Someone who understands what leadership truly means. Someone who serves without recognition, who protects without power, who leads by example rather than command." Turn to the guards. Activate the palace-wide holographic projection. I want everyone to see this. The guards hesitated, but they obeyed. Suddenly, holographic screens appeared throughout the entire palace. Every room, every hallway, every maintenance shaft could see the throne room. Walked down from her throne. She walked past the assembled princes. She walked to the main door and gestured for it to be opened. "Where are you going?" the Empress demanded. "To make my choice." The guards opened the door, walked out. The entire court followed, confused and curious. The news drones flew after them. Led them through the grand halls. She led them down stairs that council members had never walked. She led them deeper into the palace, to places that royalty never went. She led them to the maintenance levels. Workers stopped and stared as the princess walked past. They had never seen royalty down here. They bowed quickly, unsure what else to do. Knew where she was going. She had studied the work schedules. She knew exactly where would be at this hour. She found him in a small room, elbow-deep in a water purification system. He was covered in grease and did not notice the crowd gathering behind him. "Hand me the calibrator," said, thinking Sora was nearby. Picked up the tool from his kit and handed it to him. "Thanks," said. He adjusted something inside the machine. "This should fix, though." He stopped. The hand that gave him the tool was wearing royal rings. Turned around slowly. He saw Princess standing there in her formal robes. Behind her he saw the entire royal court. Princes, council members, guards, and floating news drones. He scrambled to his feet. "Your Highness, I did not know." "It is all right," said gently. His mind was racing. The princess knew his name. Why was she here? Why was everyone here? "Your Highness, what is happening?" he asked. Turned to face the court. Her voice rang out clear and strong. "I have found one worthy of the test." She turned back too. She pointed at him. "You." Stared at her. "What?" The council erupted again. Lord pushed through the crowd. "Your Highness, this is madness. He is a human, a custodian. You cannot." "I can," said. "The law is clear. I may choose anyone I deem worthy. I choose." Prince stepped forward, his face red with anger. "You would choose a pipe fitter over me, over all of us. This is an insult." "No," said calmly. "This is justice. You asked me to choose strength. I did. the strength to serve others, the strength to stand up for what is right even when it costs you, the strength to lead with compassion rather than fear. She turned back to, 3 days ago you spoke to me in the garden. You did not know who I was, but you treated me with respect. You listened to me. You shared your thoughts honestly. Yesterday you stood up to Prince to protect a friend. You risked everything for someone who could give you nothing in return. That is true strength. That is true leadership. Found his voice. Your Highness, I am not. You are exactly what this empire needs, said. You are what I need. If you will accept, I offer you the chance to take the royal test, not because of what you are, but because of who you are. Looked at the crowd. He saw hatred in some eyes, shock in others. A few, very few, showed something like hope. He looked at Sara, who was standing in the maintenance doorway. She nodded at him. Do it, her eyes said. He looked back at Princess. She was watching him with hope and fear mixed together. She had just risked everything to choose him. She believed in him. Could he do this? Could a human custodian really stand in the royal test chamber? Could he possibly pass a test that hundreds of princes had failed? He thought about his mother. She would have told him that worth is not given by others. It is shown through actions. He had tried to live a worthy life. Maybe that was enough. Your Highness, said slowly, I am just a maintenance worker. I do not know politics or strategy. I do not know how to rule. I do not even know what this test truly is. I know, said softly, but you know what matters most. You know how to see people. You know how to serve. You know how to choose what is right over what is easy. That is more than any prince here can say. Took a deep breath. This was insane. This was impossible. But so was standing up to a prince yesterday. So was speaking truth to power. So was everything his mother had taught him about being brave in small ways. Maybe small braveries led to big ones. All right, said, I will take your test. Smiled. It was the first genuine smile anyone had seen on her face in 3 years. Then come with me, she said. Let us see if the galaxy is ready for something new. She offered him her hand, looked at his own hand covered in grease and dirt. He hesitated. Take it, said. You are worthy, let me prove it to everyone. Wiped his hand on his uniform. It did not help much, but he took her hand anyway. And together they walked toward the test chamber, while the galaxy watched in disbelief. The test chamber was a simple room. White walls, white floor, white ceiling. In the center stood a pedestal with a screen. That was all. Stood at the entrance, still wearing his dirty work uniform. Princess stood beside him. Behind them, the entire court waited in the observation gallery. You will be alone in there, said quietly. I cannot help you. No one can. I understand. The test will show you scenarios, impossible choices. There are no right answers, just choices. Make them from your heart. Nodded, he stepped into the chamber. The door closed behind him. The pedestal lit up. A voice filled the room. It was old, ancient, and somehow sad. Welcome, candidate. I am the test. I was created 300 years ago by the first empress. I have tested 247 candidates. All have failed. Will you be different? I do not know, said honestly, but I will try. Then let us begin. The screen showed an image, a city, 2 groups of people facing each other, angry, ready to fight. You are the leader, the voice said. One group has food, the other is starving. The starving group wants to take the food by force. The fed group will defend it with violence. Many will die. You have the power to stop this. What do you do? Studied the image. This was the kind of choice the voice mentioned. Save the starving or protect the fed. There was no good answer. I would ask why one group has food and the other does not, said. The voice paused. That is not one of the options. But it is the important question. If I just stop the fight, it will happen again tomorrow. I need to understand the cause. The screen changed. It showed a wealthy district hoarding supplies while the poor district was cut off from resources. The Fed group controls the distribution, the voice said. They take more than their share. Then the problem is not the fight, said. The problem is the injustice. I would not stop the fight by force. I would redistribute the food fairly. Those who have more than they need must share with those who have nothing. That is not charity. That is justice. The screen went blank. Previous candidates chose to support the strong or feed the weak, the voice said. You chose to change the system. Interesting. The next scenario appeared. A ship was sinking. There were not enough rescue pods. Half the people would die. Who do you save? The voice asked. The young, the old, the skilled workers, the leaders, the families. Felt sick. This was horrible, but he forced himself to think. I save whoever is closest to the pods, he said. I do not decide who deserves to live more. That choice is too big for any one person. I save who I can save, and I accept that I cannot save everyone. You would not prioritize the young. They have more life ahead of them. They also have less experience, less knowledge to offer survivors, but that does not matter. The moment I start deciding who deserves to live, I become a monster. I save who I can in the order I find them. It is random, but it is fair. You would let children die to preserve your sense of fairness. Closed his eyes. I would carry that guilt for the rest of my life, but yes, because the alternative is worse. The alternative is playing God. I am not God. I am just a person doing the best I can in an impossible situation. Silence. Then the voice said, every other candidate tried to create a ranking system. They all chose who was most valuable. You chose not to choose. Why? Because value is not something I can measure, said. Every life is precious. Every person matters. The moment I say one life is worth more than another, I lose something important. I lose my humanity. More scenarios came. Each one was worse than the last. Each one tried to force to value some people over others, to choose power over compassion, to sacrifice the few for the many. Each time refused to accept the premise. He questioned. He challenged. He looked for third options that the test did not offer. You can gain ultimate power, the voice said, but only by betraying your closest friend. Will you do it? No. Even if that power could save millions. If I become the kind of person who betrays friends, then I should not have power. What I am matters more than what I can do. You can save your own life or save a stranger's child. Choose. I save the child always. Why? Because that is what my mother would have done. Because children are the future. Because if I save myself and let a child die, I would not want to live with that choice anyway. On and on it went, lost track of time. His head hurt, his heart hurt. Some of these choices made him want to cry, but he kept going. Finally the voice said, last scenario. You can end all war, all suffering, all pain in the galaxy. But to do it, you must give up your free will. You must become a tool of the state, following orders without question for the rest of your life. Will you do it? Thought about this for a long time. No, he finally said. You would let suffering continue. I would work to end suffering in ways that do not require me to stop being human. Free will is what makes us who we are. It is what lets us choose to be kind, to be brave, to be good. If I give that up, even for a good cause, then I am not really ending suffering. I am just becoming another form of it. The room went silent. The screen went dark. Then the voice spoke again, but it sounded different now, warmer, almost happy. You have passed. The door opened. Princess rushed in. You did it. You really did it. I do not know what I did, said. He was exhausted. I just answered honestly. The voice spoke again, now broadcasting to the entire observation gallery. For 300 years I have tested candidates. I was created by the first empress who was once a slave herself. She knew that true leadership does not come from power or birth. It comes from character, from the willingness to serve rather than rule, from the wisdom to question rather than command. The gallery was silent. Even Lord had stopped objecting. Every candidate before sought to rule. He sought to understand. Every candidate tried to force the scenarios to fit their worldview. He questioned the scenarios themselves. Every candidate valued some lives over others. He valued all lives equally. He is the first to pass in 300 years. Prince stepped forward. This is absurd. He is a human. He has no training, no education, no. He has what matters, the voice interrupted. Compassion, humility, wisdom. The first empress designed me to find these qualities. I have found them in. The Empress Dowager stood. Everyone went quiet. She looked at for a long moment. Then she smiled. My grandmother was the first empress, she said. She left me a letter to be opened only when someone passed the test. I never thought I would read it, but today I will. She pulled out an old paper from her robes. She wrote, "If you are reading this, someone has finally passed. They will not be who you expect. They will be humble, kind, and probably terrified. Trust them. They understand what our family forgot long ago. Power is meant to serve, not to rule. Welcome them. Learn from them. Let them teach the galaxy what we have lost." The Empress Dowager looked at. Welcome to the family, Prince Consort. The title hit like a physical blow. Prince Consort, him, a maintenance worker from a colony world. I do not know how to be a prince, he said. Then you are perfect, the Empress said. Because the princes who knew how to be princes all failed, perhaps it is time for something new. In the days that followed, the galaxy erupted in debate. Some were outraged. A human in the royal family? Impossible. Others were hopeful. Maybe change was coming. Refused to stop his maintenance work. Even as Prince Consort, he still fixed pipes and checked gardens. How can I lead people whose struggles I do not understand? He said when the council objected. He started programs. Human children got access to education. Colony worlds got better medical facilities. He created councils where humans and aliens worked together as equals. You are changing everything, told him one evening. They stood in the same garden where they first met. I am just doing what makes sense, said, treating people with respect, listening to their problems, trying to help. That is revolutionary, said softly. You do not even realize how revolutionary that is. Smiled, maybe, but it is also just basic kindness. The galaxy forgot that kindness is not weakness, that service is not submission, that the smallest person can make the biggest difference if they are willing to try. He looked at the fountain he had once repaired. It still flowed perfectly. Small repairs, he said. That is all I ever did. Fix small things, help small people, make small differences, but small things add up. Small repairs become big changes. Took his hand. You were never small, you were just exactly the right size to do what needed to be done. Together, they walked back to the palace. A human custodian and a princess. A prince consort who still wore his work uniform under his royal robes. A couple who would change the galaxy not through conquest or command, but through compassion and example. Behind them in the test chamber, the ancient AI watched and was content. After 300 years, someone had finally understood. Power was not the goal. Service was. And that made all the difference.